Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. For today's video, we're in beautiful California getting an up-close and personal in-depth look with the all-new 2016 Tesla Model X P90D Signature. This is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the Model X. We'll power it up, talk about all the powertrain details and performance, taking on a detailed test drive, and show you many of the unique aspects throughout the interior as well as exterior. Before we begin, I'd like to extend a big thanks and special shout out to T-Sportline for providing this opportunity to us today. They're the world's first Tesla tuning company, from suspension upgrades, custom wheels, body additions, bespoke interiors, and so much more. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about what they offer and about the company in general, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on in and get started. The key fob for the Model S is molded to reflect the car's silhouette, so naturally the Model X follows similar suit. The buttons aren't obvious but blend into the areas they correspond to. Double tap the front, sides, and back to release the front trunk, falcon wing doors, and rear trunk respectively. Pressing the top of the fob will lock the vehicle and lower the active rear spoiler if equipped. Hold the back button for a few seconds to open up the charge port. The Model X does not feature retractable door handles like the Model S. They're flush mounted with the body and are touch sensitive. With the key fob in your pocket, you just walk up and press on the chrome portion. The electric doors will then open themselves to a certain point. An auto present feature will also be available. It uses a combination of sensors to recognize the key fob as you walk up, opening the driver's door automatically. There's a total of 9 standard colors available. Solid black and white are the 2 no-cost options. There are 5 metallic colors that require an additional $1,000. Our tester is finished in pearl white, one of the 2 premium $1,500 multi-coat finishes that also includes a red option. Customers who ordered one of the Signature models, and perhaps the Founders Edition as well, had the option of an exclusive color called Signature Red, which has more of a wine or burgundy tint to the metallic finish. This example features the option of black perforated leather upholstery and the matte finish carbon fiber trim. We'll discuss more detailed options and finishers later in the video. To power it up, all you have to do is just make sure you have the key fob within the interior and then hit the brake. The driver's door will automatically close. The Model X features rack and pinion steering with speed proportional electric power assistance, routed through a sporty 3-spoke flat-bottom steering wheel. It's wrapped in premium leather with grip bolsters at 10 and 2. Various multifunction controls can be found in the upper spokes along with satin brightwork. The steering ratio is 13:1 and it takes 3.2 turns to lock. For a vehicle that weighs over 2.5 tons, I thought the handling was excellent. By having the massive battery pack as a structural member in the middle of the chassis, it leads to a very low center of gravity. In other words, the Model X drives more like a tall sports car, not that much different from a Model S, which isn't surprising as the 2 vehicles share platforms, running gear, and suspension components. There's not a ton of detailed specifications out for the Model X, but the Model S benefits from a center of gravity of just 18 inches to give you a little bit of a perspective. The typical limitations of physics for something like this, including body roll, squat, and dive, aren't as apparent as you think. It's surprisingly agile and always felt planted to the ground. In general, the Model X corners pretty flat. Turning diameter is 37 feet, same as the Model S. The Model X is currently only available with all-wheel drive, featuring Tesla's dual motor configuration that first debuted in the Model S back in 2014. Instead of having a traditional gearbox that is a single-speed direct drive unit, or transmission if you will, integrated into each motor, the front and rear motors have different but fixed final drive ratios of 9.34 and 9.73 respectively. There's no need for physical gears in an electric vehicle such as this, since torque is available instantly and the power band is much wider and linear than a typical gas-fed engine. The all-wheel drive system does not use linkages or drive shafts to create a direct connection between the motors, therefore parasitic losses of traditional all-wheel drive systems are eliminated. By having separate motors to control the front and rear wheels, torque transfer can be done digitally and independently for near instantaneous response. In the Model S, for example, instead of having one large motor at the rear, dual motor cars have smaller motors in the front and rear, actually improving range and acceleration over rear-wheel drive models. Tesla's performance models now come standard with dual motors. The rear one is actually larger and more powerful than the front. In the P90D, the rear motor develops 503 horsepower and 469 pound-feet of torque. The smaller motor in front develops 259 horsepower and 244 pound-feet of torque for a combined rating of 762 horsepower and 713 pound-feet of torque. Mind-blowing numbers when you consider the potency of the P85D, which had a combined 691 horsepower. Along with the added power, the 90 kilowatt-hour battery pack has greater storage capacity for a longer driving range than the 85 kilowatt-hour pack. With the new $10,000 ludicrous speed upgrade for the P90D, the Model X is able to accelerate to 60 miles an hour in a blistering 3.2 seconds, down from 3.8 seconds in a standard P90D, and pass a quarter mile in 11.7 seconds. The added grunt is thanks to higher capacity electronics, including a more robust battery fuse that features its own lithium-ion battery and electronics, as well as Inconel main battery contacts to accommodate an increased flow of current from 1300 to 1500 amps. Top speed for both the 90D and P90D is limited to 155 miles an hour. The only way you can tell a Model S or a Model X has the ludicrous upgrade is a little line underneath the P90D emblem on the rear hatch. Hard launches are accompanied by zero wheel spin. It's an incredible sensation, throwing you into the seat with such force that the only way to really describe it is like being on a hardcore roller coaster. The brutal acceleration begins to taper off slightly when you start reaching highway speeds, but even then it still feels like it has so much more to give. Hopefully we can get one as a press vehicle for the week and really be able to experience it fully. I've driven some fast vehicles in the last year, but this was simply amazing. What's even more amazing is the fact that it's all done in virtual silence with just a subtle hint of whirring from the electric motors. The Model X and Model S both are very refined in the way they deliver their power at low and high speeds. When you're sitting still in drive and release the brake, you sit there, or possibly even roll back similar to a manual transmission. When placed in reverse, a high-definition backup camera appears within the infotainment system. Within the system settings, you can activate a creep mode, which works to mimic the characteristics of an automatic transmission at low speeds. EPA estimated range for the Model X P90D is 250 miles. The 90D is rated at 257 miles with a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds. The base 70D can go 220 miles and hit 60 in 6 seconds. In general, the overall range is about 10% less than the Model S. Charging time really varies on the voltage and the outlet that you have the vehicle plugged into. On a 240 volt outlet with the standard amperage cable that comes with the car and the dual charging station, I estimate the charging time would probably be about 5 hours or so, but I haven't tested that out for myself. What's pretty cool though are all these supercharging stations that are popping up all over the country. They're free to use by Tesla owners. You just go on in, plug your car up, and in about 20 minutes or so it'll actually charge up about half of the battery, so it's pretty quick. It makes traveling longer distances that much easier. All four windows are fully automatic. Now let's go and check out the exterior, shall we? The Tesla Model X is an all-new, all-electric luxury crossover based on the highly successful Model S. It's currently available in 3 models, the 70D, 90D, and P90D. The 70D is the entry model and starts out at $80,000 before $1,200 in destination and dock fees. The P90D starts at $115,500, all before available tax credits. Compared to the Model S, the Model X is 2.3 inches longer, 4.4 inches wider, and 10 inches taller. They share the same wheelbase and the same front and rear track measurements of 65.4 inches and 66.9 inches respectively. The chassis is made of aluminum and reinforced in key areas by high and ultra-high strength steels, including the B-pillars and bumper beam supports. The body is cloaked by aluminum panels. Following in the footsteps of the Model S, Tesla expects the Model X to achieve a 5-star safety rating in every category and position it as the safest SUV ever. By not having an engine up front, there's far less risk for cabin intrusion in the event of a front-end collision. Like the Model S, the centrally located battery pack spans between the axles and to either side of the chassis. It's 4 inches thick and represents the single heaviest structural component. Despite the weight, the positioning of the battery pack's weight sits in the ideal place, giving the Model X excellent weight balance and a very low center of gravity. This not only benefits driving dynamics, but it also greatly lowers the risk of rollover. The exterior styling is clean, minimalistic, and highly aerodynamic. In fact, the drag coefficient measures just 0.24, astounding for any vehicle, let alone an SUV. Air is channeled out from the flat underbody by a set of diffuser strips underneath the rear fascia. Many of Tesla's signature design elements found in the Model S are echoed here, including the teardrop shape, slim wraparound lighting elements, and rounded fascias. Even though it's much taller, it still has a low-slung stance that errs on the side of sporty performance. Up front, Tesla abandoned the notion of the faux grille entirely, aside from the slender portion at the edge of the hood to house the emblem. LED headlamps and tail lamps are standard. Soft LED daytime running lights up front add a cool touch, while LED fog lamps are optional. LED turn signals on the fenders, also shared with the Model S, are decorated in chrome, along with some other tasteful bright work around the windows, mirror caps, and door handles. The arched roofline appears to be made entirely out of glass. Very cool in person, the enormous windshield plays a big role in that. It tapers off in the rear, similar to the silhouette seen on the BMW X6 and the new Mercedes-Benz GLE Coupe, while retaining good cargo space and room for the available third-row seat. The most dramatic feature of the exterior, of course, are the Falcon Wing doors. They're fully powered to make quite the design statement. It's also very clever how they work. Each door is actuated by 2 sets of hinges. This allows the doors to not only open but to fold as necessary. Where that really comes into play is in tight parking spaces and garages. A myriad of sensors monitor the surroundings and determine how much space the doors have to swing out and then adjust accordingly. Tesla claims the doors only need 11.8 inches of clearance to fully open, greatly making ingress and egress easier for second and third row passengers when in a pinch. Not only that, but they should make car seat installation easier and provide a bit of overhead rain protection if needed. They're not the fastest operating doors, but they draw a crowd like nothing else I've ever seen. At the point where the door is actually attached to the roofline, there's a large magnesium member for added strength and rollover protection. The active spoiler you see here is standard only on the P90D. When parked, it remains blended into the rear hatch and automatically rises when you open a door. It'll even adjust based on your speed of travel to increase downforce and stability at higher speeds and yield a 1.6% improvement in highway driving range. The EPA rates overall economy as high as 92 miles per gallon equivalent for the 90D. The P90D is slightly lower at 89 miles per gallon equivalent. Brake energy regeneration is standard, helping capture additional energy and provide an added measure of deceleration. The system is so effective that if you plan your stops right, you barely even have to use the brakes. While I didn't have a chance to explore all of the new safety tech available on this trip, I'd definitely like to share a few details about them in hopes of covering them in a separate review later on. Tesla's new autopilot system combines 4 integrated systems, including cameras, radar, ultrasonics, and GPS, to create a vehicle with semi-autonomous capabilities. While similar in a way to the driver assistance technologies that have swept the automotive industry in recent time, including but not limited to adaptive cruise control, lane change and lane keep and assist, forward collision warning and rear cross traffic alert, autopilot is more about self-driving than general assistance, allowing the vehicle to steer itself within a lane, change lanes at the tap of a turn signal, and manage speed using active traffic-aware cruise control. So I'm sure you're wondering how this all works. There's actually a radar mounted in the front fascia, a forward-looking camera, 12 long-range ultrasonic sensors, and a digitally controlled electronic assist braking system. The sensors themselves sense 16 feet around the car in every direction at all speeds, continuously monitoring the surroundings. By having the electric motors, steering, and brakes digitally controlled, collisions can be avoided from the front and the sides while preventing runoff. Of course, an automatic parallel parking system is also included. Another interesting feature known as Summon allows you to move the car forward or backward remotely. In other words, let's say you arrive at home but your garage is a bit limited on space. You can get out of the car, press a couple buttons on the remote fob, and the car will not only open your garage door, but pull in, power down, and close the garage door, vice versa if you're pulling out. Tesla claims that eventually you'll even be able to use Summon across the country, a very interesting concept. The Model X is available with either 20 or 22-inch wheels, 4 different sets in total. All are 9 inches wide in front and 10 inches wide in the rear. Our tester is the 22-inch silver-painted turbine wheels wrapped in 265/35 and 285/35 Pirelli Scorpion Zero summer performance tires respectively. They're also available in Onyx Black for a stealthier look similar to the Model S. The 22s will lead to a firmer ride with the tire's smaller sidewalls, but they look fantastic in person. It really boils down to personal preference. Along with the shared running gear, the Model X uses the same braking setup as the Model S. The 4-wheel internally ventilated discs measure 14 by 1.3 inches in front and 14.4 by 1.1 inches in the rear. With Brembo 4-piston fixed calipers clamped down at each corner, I imagine the Model X would be able to stop from 60 miles an hour in 110 to 115 feet due to its heftier curb weight over a Model S. The red brake calipers are exclusive to the Tesla performance models. The suspension design is also very similar to a Model S, featuring double wishbones in front and a multi-link rear. The front uses split lower control arms and dual lower ball joints with a height-mounted upper arm and stabilizer bar. The rear also has a stabilizer bar and is all supported by a hollow aluminum subframe. The suspension in general uses a number of aluminum components for reduced unsprung weight, including but not limited to the front knuckles and rear suspension links. Standard on the 90D and P90D is Tesla's otherwise optional Smart Air suspension paired to Bilstein monotube shock absorbers. The electronically controlled air springs allow you to raise or lower the vehicle on demand like you can see with this Model S. The Model X typically rides 7.55 inches off the ground, but with the air suspension, travel ranges between 7.2 and 8.78 inches. It'll lower automatically at higher speeds to reduce drag. What's even cooler is the fact that the system has built-in memory. For example, if you have a steep driveway, you can tell the Model X to automatically raise the suspension on approach using GPS locating every time. Along with the improved aerodynamic efficiency on the highway, the air springs are also said to benefit overall handling and ride comfort. The latter I imagine is especially important with having these 22-inch wheels. For added capability, the Model X is also available with a towing package, but only when equipped with the air suspension. It features a high-strength steel tow bar, a removable 2-inch hitch receiver, and a 7-pin electronics harness. This makes it capable of towing up to 5,000 pounds on the 20-inch wheels, or 3,500 pounds with the 22-inch wheels. Tow mode software within the infotainment system, when selected, monitors trailer sway and adjusts braking as necessary for greater stability. Overall length is 198.3 inches, with a width of 81.5 inches, mirrors folded, and height is 66.5 inches. Wheelbase is 116.5 inches, while overall curb weight is around 5,381 pounds. 52% of that weight rides over the rear. The interior of the Model X is a design showcase unlike anything else in its class. There's some resemblance to the Model S when it comes to the upper front door panels, portions of the center console, and dashboard. Therefore, build quality is very comparable to the Model S, with many leather-wrapped and soft-touch surfaces. The latter includes synthetic leather and Alcantara. The large touchscreen in the dash alleviates the need for buttons and switchgear throughout the cabin. The handful you'll find, including the controls to the power windows, mirrors, and steering column stalks, were actually sourced in the Mercedes-Benz parts bin, just like the Model S. While it doesn't necessarily match the attention to detail you'd find in similar priced premium SUVs, the Model X's layout is modern, simple, ergonomically friendly, and comfortable. The addition of door storage pockets is a welcome touch over the Model S. The interior on entry-level models feature a combination of cloth and synthetic leather upholstery. If you want leather, as seen in our tester, the only two choices are black and tan. There's also an ultra-white interior option, but that's actually a high-grade synthetic leather as well, treated with a stain-resistant coating to keep it looking clean and fresh. You have the choices of 5 interior finishers, including 4 wood patterns and the matte finish carbon fiber trim. Satin aluminum trim elements can be found throughout. Black or tan headliners are available depending on the interior color choice. While the rear portion of the center console looks to be lifted straight from the Model S, the biggest difference here is the middle portion, where instead of having a broad flat tray across the floorboard, you have some covered storage and clever iPhone integration. We'll go over all of that in just a bit. The glove box is electrically actuated and offers a modest amount of padded storage space. The front seats are fully powered, including 4-way adjustable lumbar. This is a key difference between the Model S, as the Model X features all new seat designs. I think they're a lot more comfortable, offering even more padding and greater overall body support. The larger upper and lower lateral bolsters give them a sporty feel without compromising ingress and egress, just enough to hug you in around a corner. If you decide to go for the premium package shown here, you also gain soft LED ambient interior lighting, the Alcantara headliner and upper dashboard accent, premium leather wrapping for the armrest, steering wheel and lower dashboard, not to mention ventilated front seats. Easily the coolest design element of the entire vehicle is the windshield. It's the largest piece of curved glass ever used in an automobile, giving the front occupants a breathtaking panoramic view, in addition to 2 glass portions over the middle row seats. The windshield header actually sits behind your head, so even when you look straight up, you still see glass. It also replaces the need for a traditional sunroof. To prevent any uncomfortable sun intrusion, there's a tinted gradient that comes down to the rear view mirror. A pair of magnetic telescoping sun visors are mounted in parallel to the A-pillars. They can be pulled down and attached to the sides of the rear view mirror if needed. It's really quite clever and gives the Model X such a unique driving experience unlike anything else on the market. So now let's go ahead and strap a few GoPros on and take it for a quick test drive. The Model X is available with two audio systems. The standard offering consists of 9 speakers and 200 watts of power. If you're more of an audiophile though, you'll likely want to look into stepping up to the Ultra High Fidelity or a UHF system, which has 17 speakers in total, including an 8-inch trunk-mounted subwoofer and Dolby Pro Logic surround sound. Equipped in our tester, it churns out an impressive 560 watts of power and is completely designed in-house by Tesla. Quality-wise, it's exactly what you'd expect out of this price point, rivals many other branded systems I've experienced in the premium market. There's powerful, deep bass and well-balanced treble. The system isn't unlike the UHF system in the Model S, they actually share the same power rating. The Model X just has more speakers spread throughout the cabin. Like the Model S, the X uses a massive portrait-oriented 17-inch touchscreen that forms the main focal point of the dash. The display incorporates capacitive touch technology like a smartphone or a tablet and features similar functionality such as pinching, rotating, and swiping dependent on the menu. The screen can be divided to show 2 different menus such as navigation and audio, while having the ability to swap which ones sit at the top or bottom. A lot of the menus can also be expanded full screen. Especially handy for the navigation system, which includes Google Maps with satellite imagery and real-time traffic updates. Along with being able to receive wireless updates over the air, I'd say about 98% of the vehicle's features and functions are controlled within this screen. Everything from media and entertainment to navigation, web browsing, the optional air suspension, exterior lighting, sunroof, and more. The screen is a lot to take in at first, but it really is a wonderfully innovative and modern idea that just seems so appropriate here, freeing up the interior from button clusters and design compromises. In fact, the only 2 buttons on the dash are a pair of small ones to either side of the screen. The one on the left is for the hazards, the one on the right is for the electric glove box actuator. As far as entertainment, there's AM, FM, and HD radio. XM satellite radio is available with the UHF audio system. There's also a variety of internet radio options, Bluetooth audio streaming, and direct phone connectivity in the center console. The energy menu charts acceleration and energy regeneration on graphs, allowing you to look at the last 5, 15, or 30 miles, understand the patterns, and help maximize your driving efficiency. In addition to navigation destination entry, you can also bring up recently visited and favorite places, search places, and see area and recently visited superchargers. The Model X also features 4G LTE internet connectivity with a full web browser that makes searching and viewing easy, just like your favorite tablet. There wasn't a ton of signal where I filmed this video, which explains some of the additional lag with the browser and navigation system. It's a pretty awesome feature regardless and really puts the large screen to good use. Of course, it can be displayed as both half and full screen. Currently, the Model S and Model X use version 7 of the infotainment system, an update that was released at the latter part of 2015. At first glance, you can tell the menus and icons have been significantly refreshed, including higher contrast colors, but it all appears to work in the exact same fashion. One new feature is a lock-unlock button in the top status bar. By pressing the Tesla logo in the top bar, you can bring up the About page, showing what software version you're running, the release notes detailing what comes in that version, the VIN number, and the model you have. The Model X Signature is a limited production version reserved for folks who were some of the first to pre-order and put down a $40,000 deposit. The last few numbers of the VIN show what number your vehicle is. This example is number 258. The general layout of the system is cleaner than before with less text and larger menus, especially nice with the navigation portion, which shows more map than before in both half and full screen display modes. There aren't near as many 3D graphics as before, very two-dimensional, which may or may not be a good thing based on your own personal preference. I for one like the new look, and I'm sure it'll be even easier to use. Honestly, it's very reminiscent to an iPad and is easily one of the best infotainment systems I've ever used. The highly responsive touch controls are also quite intuitive. With 7.0 came the activation of the new autopilot features, while the recent 7.1 update added the new Summon beta feature. Up top, the charge menu shows the amount of charge you have remaining while allowing you to open the charge port out back, set a charge limit, schedule charging, as well as manually adjust the charge current if necessary. To the right of that is a programmable home link feature for garage doors, as well as a shortcut to set profiles for different drivers' individual personal settings and preferences. On the opposite side is where you can schedule automatic software updates, pair Bluetooth devices, view LTE signal strength, a digital clock, and whether the passenger airbag is on or off. Available with the Premium Upgrades package and equipped on this example is Tesla's new HEPA air filtration system along with standard tri-zone climate control. They claim it's the first of its kind, 100 times more effective than typical premium automotive filters, to remove 99.97% of pollution, bacteria, and other contaminants. 2 additional activated carbon air filters prevent nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbon exhaust fumes, and other odors from entering the cabin. In addition to the vent and recycling features, when equipped with the HEPA system, there's even a bioweapon defense mode. It pressurizes the cabin with air pulled entirely through the HEPA system in both activated carbon air filters to provide maximum protection against hazardous external conditions for the cleanest air possible. Similar to the Model S, the Model X can pretty much be controlled entirely from the controls menu in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, including all 4 power-actuated doors, the front and rear trunk, the charge port, and even the power-adjusting rear seat, but we'll talk about that later in the video. You can raise or lower the height of the optional air ride suspension, and there's a host of driving controls. Things like steering feel, putting it into ludicrous mode if so equipped, turning creep on or off, regenerative braking mode, traction control, trailer mode, as well as a range mode if you've needed to go longer distances. Beneath that is a detailed trip computer and your display settings. You can adjust the brightness, put it into night mode, and power saving mode. In the very bottom of that menu, you have the controls for your electronic parking brake, and you can power the vehicle off from that screen. If you go to the Settings tab in the very top, that's where you can program more of your personal preferences. All of the various apps, like we talked about earlier, is located at the top. You can add driver profiles, adjust units and format, various vehicle settings, safety and security, the display features like I talked about earlier, adding garage home links, as well as adjusting the driver assistance features like autopilot, lane change, speed warning, and collision avoidance. In Service Reset, you can control the spoiler, put the vehicle into tow mode, put the wipers in service position, and reset all of the software to factory default. One thing I think is pretty cool is that the owner's manual is completely integrated within the infotainment system. Everything is clearly labeled, of course the graphics are really nice. A lot of manufacturers are doing similar things instead of having just a big bulky owner's manual because cars are so complicated, but this is a really nice setup. You can also activate the charge screen from the control screen as just an additional shortcut. I hope the overview of the infotainment system in the Tesla Model X has been helpful, so now let's go ahead and check out the rest of the interior features. As you would expect too, forward visibility is absolutely excellent. The A-pillars are relatively thin, there's small quarter windows so you can see in front of the mirrors. Your sun visors are actually mounted to the A-pillars, they're held in by magnets. You'd basically just pull it out like this, move it over to the rear view mirror, and it automatically magnetizes in place. And you'll see that it comes in right as this tint strip is ending right here, but if you need a little bit extra, you can pull out this portion here. There's also a built-in vanity mirror if you pull in one more time, and it also has LED illumination. The rear view mirror is frameless and auto-dimming. Giving the Model X a bit more practicality over a Model S is a full console up front. The sides of it, including the armrests, are wrapped in leather. Up front is some additional storage with 2 adjustable and/or removable cup holders. There's also some soft material inside. Behind that is another small cubby that also houses your media integration and a 12-volt power outlet. You'll notice right at the base of the lid there's actually a built-in lightning cable. They did this to make it more ergonomic when you're going down the road and you want to plug the car in, so instead of having to fiddle with cables or take your eyes off the road, the top is angled in a way that you could just slide your phone down it and blindly go ahead and hook it up. It's really easy to use. There's an additional pair of cup holders up top and 2 adjustable armrests. On the steering wheel you'll find controls for your radio and multimedia, hands-free voice recognition, and driver information system. Just like the Model S, the digital instrument cluster is divided into 3 sections. In the middle you have the speed indicator, and to either side are selectable apps that display a variety of information types. On autopilot cars you no longer have the digital analog portion in the middle with the 7.0 software update. Instead, by using the sensors around the vehicle, it'll display surrounding vehicles relative to your position, along with other infographics like the proximity sensors. By hitting this button right here, it brings up the menu where you can adjust fan speed, as well as temperature, display brightness, sunroof, and changing the media source. Quite convenient. If you wanted to change what showed up in either side right there, you basically hold down these little rotary wheels. You can go between clock, blank space, media, energy, trip computer, car status, and telephone. Pretty neat little system. Of course, the same for the other side. Alrighty. When you go ahead and hop out the vehicle, the Model X will automatically power itself down. At that point, just go ahead and shut it up. The vehicle will lock itself. And that's about it. Now let's go ahead and check out backseat space and amenities. So because the Falcon doors allow for so much space right here, climbing into either the middle row or the third row seat is an absolute cinch. I mean, you just slide on in here, there's plenty of headspace. To make closing the door a bit easier, I mean, you don't have to reach up and grab the door or anything like that. There's a small electric switch on the B-pillar right here, right above the air vent. You push it in to go ahead and lower the door. It collapses on itself and everything, of course actuated by the 2 sets of hinges. It's an amazing sight in person, so clever. I can just imagine like the complicated engineering behind all of this to make it all line up properly and everything. Of course, the electromechanical mechanisms in here bring everything closed just like the front. I mean, it's just so cool. The materials back here are also first rate. I mean, I love the Alcantara across all the pillars, the headliner and everything is really nice touch. The leather feels high quality. I like the perforated detailing. Of course, just like the front doors, the rear doors are wrapped in leather. You have the aluminum trim, the matte finish carbon fiber, good size armrests. I mean, it's just a nice place to be. The amenities are also pretty nice. I mean, you have adjustable air vents mounted in the B-pillars, as well as the center console, in addition to 2 USB ports. Very simple, but very functional. The Model X can be had in either 5, 6, or 7 passenger configurations. This particular one is obviously the 7 passenger, so you have 2 up front, 3 in the middle, 2 in the rear. The 6 passenger deletes the middle portion and has just a walkthrough, I believe. The 5 passenger doesn't have the rear seat. All of these seats right here are power adjusting, which is pretty nice. So you can go forward, backward, tip the seat forward, or tip it back if you wanted to kick back and relax. The middle portion has a button down below here that you can slide it forward and backward. The other nice thing too, I mean, as far as leg space, it's not compromised at all if you're sitting in the middle row. The center console does not intrude. The floor panel is completely flat, so you can sit right in the middle. And you can sit 3 full-size adults back here. There's no issues with shoulder space or anything like that. The biggest hindrance for taller people in the middle is obviously going to be headroom, because you don't have this cutout portion with the tinted glass right here, so you can stick up and have some extra wiggle room. You have this structural member right here that For me, I have maybe ½ inch to an inch of headspace. So that's it for the middle row seat. Let's go ahead and open the Falcon Wing door one more time, and I'll show you how to access the third row seat, and we'll check out the overall space back there. Alright, so to gain access to the third row seat, there's a small button right behind the seat belt on either side that you can slide both of these seats right here forward. And the passenger seat also tips forward just a little bit to give some extra accommodation when the seat tips up. Now these are actually designed so if you have child seats in the outer portions, they'll be just fine. You won't have to worry about hitting the front of the seat or anything like that, so you don't have to take them out. It makes things a little bit easier and practical if you have a family. So once it's in this position right here, all you have to do is just climb on in, and because there's so much headroom right here, like I showed you earlier, you can actually stand here fully if you're 5'10". It makes climbing in a cinch because you can hoist yourself straight on up and then just fall into the rear seat. All right, let's talk about interior space and comfort for the third row. This is the first time I'm sitting back here, and I'm actually surprised there's as much room as there is. Again, I'm 5'10", and even though you don't have near as much headroom as you have in the middle row, it's still not bad. I would say maybe 1.5 inches or so. I mean, it's pretty generous overall. Leg space is going to be a bit tighter back here, especially depending on the height of the people in front of you, depending on how much leg space they have. I can't put the seat back just from where I'm sitting right now. There's no rear controls, so whoever sits back here, someone is going to have to put the middle row back for them to sit. But I imagine based on this portion right here, I might have ½ inch to 1 inch or so. So back seat definitely will probably be used more for children or smaller individuals. Amenities back here, there's 2 cup holders across the middle, there's some leather padding across the doors and more other soft touch material across the majority of the larger portion. The Alcantara trim comes down the pillars back here, around these little quarter windows, and there's 2 adjustable C-pillar mounted vents that are pointed right at your head, so everybody gets proper ventilation. It's not going to feel quite so claustrophobic or anything like that back here unless you're probably 6 feet or so. There's reading lamps up top there. The leather feels just as high quality as the rest of the interior with the perforated detailing. The headrests are not adjustable, but for better visibility when nobody's sitting back here, you can press the little button on the side, the same button that you would use to fold the seat for extra cargo space, and I'll show that when we get to the trunk portion. But you can fold the third row headrest down to get that better visibility. It's still hindered just a little bit because of the middle row. You have to fix headrest right here, but all in all, it's pretty decent. Like I said, in the middle row on the back here, you have more of the giant high gloss black trim, a very unique styling touch. And because the floorboard is completely flat and you don't have a lot of hardware underneath the seats, you can stick your feet up under there, have a little bit of extra wiggle room for better comfort. So that's pretty much it for back here. Let's go ahead and hop on out and check out trunk space. Like we've seen with the Model S, by not having a motor up front, it provides a nice opportunity to have additional storage space, which is even more important in the Model X because you can seat more people. The overall depth of the area seems pretty similar between the two. You have a similar layout with windshield washer fluid reservoir off to the right hand side and LED illumination, but the overall cargo space in the Model X is a lot greater because it's much wider, so you can store more and longer items. The rear hatch of the Model X is fully powered and can be done remotely as long as you have the key fob. Otherwise, there's a button on the hatch itself and one within the infotainment system. Inside, you'll find a generous amount of cargo space rated at 26 cubic feet behind the second row seat, identical to what you'd see in a Model S. The biggest difference here is that the Model X has a taller roofline, so it can accommodate taller items than a Model S. When the optional third row seat is up, space becomes a bit tight, especially if you're carrying a lot of passengers. For those situations, there's additional storage underneath the floorboard and of course the front trunk. You'll likely even have more cargo space by opting for the 6-passenger Model X. Since the middle row seats do not fold flat, you can't store anything else up to the front otherwise. General space doesn't seem to change between the 5 and 7-passenger versions as they both have full-length bench seats in the middle. There's some LED illumination, 4 cargo tie-downs, and a 12-volt power outlet. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2016 Tesla Model X P90D Signature. Big thanks and shout out again to T-Sportline for the opportunity. For more information about the company and services offered, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below. As always, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care guys.